Good morning, everyone. Hope you are all well. I'm going to spend some time talking to you about job interviews. I think it's really important that I don't send you a PowerPoint, but that maybe you get a chance to do some talking. Sorry about the hair, but I did put some makeup on this morning. Hopefully, all is good. Um, I've sat through many interviews, first as a teacher applying for a job, as a department head, and then as an administrator. And I thought, I'd like to give you some key kind of things to think about when you're preparing for your job interview. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is your portfolio. I'm going to kind of give you a quick glance of mine. Mine's pretty thick. But in there I've got, and I'm going to go through my categories that I put. I put my philosophy of education was the first thing that I put down. And I'm going to read you my philosophy. And this was done many, many years ago, so it'll be interesting for me to reread it and see what's happening. My education, so that would be anything that you've taken, your resume, any courses that you've taken. I put down, I had all kinds of certificates, anything you've done. And you may think, that's a little pilly one. They're important to stick in there. Just shows your versatility, right? I also put in there, I don't know if it's going to show you very well, copy of some tests that I had done. So that way they could see how I would evaluate students. This is a grade 12 university music exam or written exam. I also put in a case study that I had done from university on my behavior elective for Spec Ed when I had done my Spec Ed Part 1. I put down a course outline, something that you might want to think about, just to show my approach to some of the courses that I was teaching. And I went through also any of the research articles that I had read through, highlighted them, I made a few notes on the side, things like why brain researchers sing praises of music, music duotang and portfolio. So these are the articles from the Recorder. Back in 1996. It's like old. Then I put down any pictures or concerts that I performed and my kids had done, pictures, band pictures, things that places we had traveled. My last section was anything in the community that I had done, any letters from students or parents, maybe over your placement or your practicum that maybe you had done, and it makes all the difference. For me, as a person that's sitting interviewing you, I took a quick look at that, and I looked to see if I read your philosophy. I also looked through and say, what have you done in your community? Are you going to be, if I hire you, are you going to be part of my community? Even though you could be in a big city, there's always a small community, a school community that you do. What have you done extra outside of school as well? So this is really important. I've had people come in with amazing portfolios, which really sets the tone for when I'm going to ask them the questions about what I need to know. I've had people come in with no portfolio, and I say, see ya. They obviously didn't organize. So I say to you, start now. Start pulling out. What I started to do was I started to pull things and just put them in a binder away. It doesn't have to be perfect right now because you've got a couple of years, but keep in mind that that's where you're heading, and you want to have something that's presentable at any time that you can go in and do that. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. The next thing I want to talk to you about is okay, so you see a posting online for a job. You look at the community, you look at the Board of Education. A couple of things I always looked for when I was interviewing somebody is have they looked at the policies for that Board of Education? So have they gone in to see where they're really their driving force is? Could it be EQAO? Could it be math scores? Could it be language? Could it be success criteria or learning goals? What is their philosophy, and where are they really, really focusing on in their board? And that's something that you need to be able to share with them. When I see that somebody has taken the time to look at my Board of Education, looked at my school website, looked at anything that has pertained to, if they get the job coming into my school, that's important. Okay. Um, the other thing that I look for is, have they researched a little bit about the town or community or area that the school is located in? So have they, take a drive around, go and see what's in the area, go on, the websites of the cities or the towns, see what they're all about. Go grocery shopping in their area prior to doing that. You get to get the feel of the town or city or area, so that during the interview you can say, what, this is a really amazing young community. I've come in. I've gone for breakfast on Saturday morning at one of the small shops. I've met some people here. Things are amazing, and I would love to teach here. When you do come to this interview, I want to know what makes you stand out from the rest. Everybody's going to come in with the same degree or a degree or a Bachelor of Ed as well. I want to know what you think about kids. If you're going to regurgitate the buzz sentences and the buzzwords to me, I've had people come into interviews and talk about all the policies, all the strategies, but never once talked about kids. And I said, that's not what I need to hear. Kid driven. Can you differentiate? Do you understand, what you need to do if a kid is struggling? Are you thinking about the kid first? Curriculum second. I've had people come into the interviews and talk about curriculum first and kids second. Not for me. Not a winning thing. They're going to ask you probably a question about discipline. What would you do in this case? What would you do in that case? And I want you to think through things like being consistent, being caring, but doing your research. So, when we had a kind of a huge talk about getting to know your kids, looking at it, the OSR, looking at the IP, calling home, going to the school if you can, and talking with people prior to going in there. They want to know that you're going to do your homework and take care of kids. Yes, you're going to teach them, but are you going to take care of them? Find out if there's a breakfast program in the school. Is that something you want to be involved in for success for kids? How are you going to deal with an irate parent? How are you going to deal with a student that's not responding? Those are huge. Consistency in the classroom, caring, compassion. You don't change the rules one day to the next. You need to be able to explain that to someone. You can give great examples. Say you were on your placement and you had a student that was struggling, and think back what did you do to make that connection with that kid? And that's something that's really important. Just looking at my notes here. They're going to obviously ask you about the content and courses that you're going to teach, and they're aware that you're going to know that kind of stuff. They're also going to ask you, how do you want to get involved in the school? And I want you to think seriously about this, not something that's I'm going to coach 10 teams and I'm going to blah blah blah. Do something reasonable in your area, right? That there are all kinds of activities that kids need to get involved in, and tell them why you want to get involved. You want to get to know them on a different level. You want to get to share your story with them, and it makes a huge difference. It really does. So they're going to ask a number of questions. Please, if they ask the question and you don't understand it, ask for them to repeat the question. That is absolutely really important, so that you get it straight. Take your time when you're answering the questions. look at, how you present yourself. Make sure that you take a deep breath before. Um, Focus on kids. If you don't have a lot of spec ed background, that's something that I would strongly suggest that you do some reading upon, and think about how you're going to deal with the students in your classroom. If you don't have an EA, how are you going to deal with those, students that are really struggling? The other thing that I would look for, and I always look for, is their communication with parents. I'll tell you, once teachers are hired at some point, I've said to them, you know, Johnny's not coping. What did the parents say? Well, I haven't called home. That needs to be foremost in your discussion with somebody that wants to hire you. As an administrator, I want to know, have you made a connection with home? Have you made a connection with the parents or the guardians? Have you, asked them to come in and have a one-on-one in a relaxed setting prior to it going crazy? If you see things are unraveling, do your homework, right? So you need to be able to relay that to the administrator that's going to hire you. I want to know that you're not going to, you know, talk on and on about policy. I want to know what you think about kids. I want to know that you're a risk taker. I want to know that you're going to follow the rules, but you're also going to shift if you need to, if your lessons aren't working. And I read a lot of that in your discussion section when you had put down your successes and your challenges on your placement. A lot of you guys did a great job. I was really proud of you for doing that. So think about what you want to do as far as setting up your portfolio. You're going to get definitely the discipline question. You're going to, differentiation. Think about that. Think about learning goals and success criteria, how you would use this in a classroom, how you would, create success for a student, or how would you deal with a student that is failing? How would you, use the spec ed department, the student success department in your school? Things like that are so important because as an administrator, we're busy and you guys are busy. And we don't need kids down at the office every 35 seconds because you haven't, as a teacher, haven't figured it out. So come up with some strategies as to how you would deal with your kids in certain situations. And you know what? Every situation will be new, and all the kids are going to be different every time. But the bottom line is, how do you love these kids? Are you going to make muffins for them in the morning? Are you willing to give up your recess time or your lunch time to sit with a kid that's really struggling? Those are things that I want to hear. I want to hear in an interview. You will answer all the technical questions, but it's so important that you take a look at who you are as a human being, and where you want these kids to go to. I'm going to read you my philosophy. I wrote this years ago, and I just actually, when I pulled out this, the portfolio, I thought, oh, I'm going to see what my philosophy was years ago. So I wrote down here, I believe that education is a process of self-discovery. This process must encompass numerous factors in order for success. The teacher, the parent, the student, the school, the community, and the Ministry of Education all play an important role in this journey. As an educator, I must guide and encourage this process so that students build the appropriate skills to be successful. Developing a whole, well-rounded individual can at times be overwhelming because of the crucial stage these young adults are at. Having a vision, being prepared to risk with your students, and the flexibility to face new changes can make education an exciting place to be. Education is not just teaching, it is so much more. Allowing young individuals to learn content, develop a stronger sense of self, problem solve, and make appropriate decisions is just a beginning point with which they can grow and mature. My last sentence was, this makes everyone better learners. Very cool. Which just hasn't changed. It's there, it's solid, and it's important that I always keep that in mind. So I'm going to take a look at my notes here. Coaching, we've talked a little bit about, or clubs. Okay, what makes you stand out over others? That's huge. I remember when I applied for my first job, because I was a music major and I had done a double in choral and instrumental music. So it came to an instrumental job, and it was in Brampton, the first 5 years I taught there. And I remember them saying to me, so what can you do for me that the person just before you or the person after you can't do? And I thought to myself, this is an instrumental job. I said, okay, this is what else I can do. I can direct a choir. I can direct a vocal jazz group. I can teach choral music as well as the full instrumental gambit. That's what got me my job, because everybody else that came, not any of them, I would assume, had the same choral experience, because usually instrumentalists stay in the instrumental. I shifted to both areas, so I was really fortunate to be able to do that, and it paid off, because I always then, as well as my concert bands, I always had choral groups that I directed, and then taught a lot of choral music as well as instrumental. So I want you to think of what makes you a little different. Is there something you can coach that's different, or is there a group or club that you can start that maybe would be of interest? So going on their website, finding out what groups and clubs that they have already, that sometimes is really kind of neat, because then you can say, listen, I see that we don't have this, and I'd be really interested in starting a group like that. And that would be something, as interesting as maybe the kids would love to do. So as an administrator, if I hear that you've got on my website, you're thinking about what else you can contribute to my school, you're not going to be, are you going to stay after school and work for me? Are you going to stay after school with kids? I want to see that. And I know it's not extra pay, and I know it's difficult, but I want to know, are you going to stay and protect those kids if they need to? The other thing we quickly talked about is potentially kids with, really poor homes and struggling, or, come to school and tell you that, they've been hurt, or they've been harassed or hurt by a parent. What do you do in that situation? And we had talked about that a little bit, about that, but that's something to make sure that you're aware of. So keep your stuff in order, have a good portfolio, check the board website, check your community, see what their strengths are, make sure that you're fully up to date with learning goals, success criteria, differentiated instruction, any spec ed that you can do. Make sure you understand and know the difference between accommodated, modified. Okay, those are two different things. Make sure that you understand the difference between the two, because that's part of your assessment. Anything else that I need to talk to you about? Well, this is a start anyways. I just want to say I'm really proud of all you guys for making that adjustment. It's been a challenge, huge learning curve for me, and I've just kind of keep going at it the best that I can, and shifting things. Thank you for all your emails. Thank you for your phone calls to clarify things. I hope that we've tried to eliminate a little bit and make it easier for you. This has not been easier. Remember, this right now is not a reflection of who you are as an educator. It's not a reflection of who you will be. Well, it may. If you're strong, you kind of hang in there. You do what you need to do. So I'm going to leave it at that. I just thought that when we're talking about interviews, there's so much more, and I wish we were in a classroom, because I'm sure there's many questions that you would have, and there's many stories that I could tell you about, the key statements and the key things you need to know about going into an interview. But bottom line, promise me, kids first. Kids first. That's the essential. That's, as an administrator, that's what I want to know. Kids first. Not curriculum first. Curriculum will follow. Kids first. Calling home, your community, getting help for your kids if they need to. Okay, so I'm going to post this today if I can make it work. This is my first YouTube video, so I'm hoping that this is okay. I wish you all the best. It's really unfortunate that we ended this way, but thank you for challenging me. It's been a huge learning curve for me since I've been out of the classroom, but in the schools for many years, right? I will take your advice. I will take your determination to succeed, and hopefully we'll teach it next year and be a better teacher because of you guys. So thank you. If you ever need anything, you know where my email address is through the university. Please contact me. I'd be glad to chat. I would be glad to help in any way. So I hope all is well. Take care. I wish I could get Dude to come if she's snoring somewhere to say hello. Yeah, so take care, and I'm not going to put a discussion unless you know what, maybe I'll put a discussion and put down if there's any questions that you have about interviews. I'm trying to get through all the discussions, and don't panic. The first one I've tried to respond to. The other ones I'm just marking as read. You guys are doing a great job in responding the best way that you can. So hang in there. I'll put a quick discussion on there if you have any questions or concerns about interviews, and it can be down the road. Or you're getting ready for an interview and you want to talk some things through, give me a call. You all have my cell phone now, and I'd be happy to chat. All right, so take care. Please be safe. Take care of your family, and we will hopefully talk soon. All right, take care.